Hey there, I'm an Untitled, an 8th grader from John F. Kennedy Middle School, and in this math video, I want to go over how to use the power rule and chain rule in order to find derivatives. Now, both of these are kind of shortcuts to make life easier for when you're trying to find derivatives, so why don't we just head on into it. So we're going to go with the power rule first because it's going to be used more when you're using the chain rule, so it's going to be pretty helpful. So let's start off with an example because in my opinion, when I was able to see the power rule happen visually, it was much easier to understand. So let's say our example here is we have a function of f of x and it's equal to x to the power of 10. Now, we're trying to find the derivative of this function, so we're going to use the shorthand notation for derivative of f of x, and we need to find the derivative of this. Now, in order to do that, it's really simple. So what you're going to have to do is we're going to take this step by step. So let's say we're trying to find the derivative of x to the power of 10. Step number 1, what you're going to do is you're going to move the exponent and move it in front of x. So it's going to look like 10x. So basically it kind of became the coefficient of x, but that's just for the time being. There's only, I think, a few more steps left. So, next step, we're going to subtract 1 from the first exponent, and that's going to be our new exponent. So, if you do that, it's going to be 10x to the power of 9. And that's it. That's literally all the power rule is. And it's going to be very useful for when we're going to be using the chain rule too, but we'll get into that in just a second. So we can write our solution as 10x to the power of 9. Now, let's go over a few more examples so we have our fundamentals right on this power rule. Okay, so let's do another example. Let's say that our example is we have g of x is equal to, let's say, x to the power of 4d3. And it's a pretty big number, but again, power rule says g inverse of x should equal, you move this to the front, you move the exponent to the front, it's going to be 43x, because x always stays the same, and then you subtract 1, so that would be 42. We can do another quick one here before we move on to the chain rule. And let's say this one is also f of x, and this is going to equal to x to the power of, let's say, 100. F inverse of x, again, move the exponent down, 100x, subtract 1 from 100, it's going to be 99. And so that's basically what this is stating as the power rule. Now we're going to move on to the chain rule, which is a little bit more complicated. And as I said, the power rule kind of does help when it comes to more complex types of things you need to take derivatives of. But again, it's fairly simple once you get the hang of it. So let's go on to the chain rule. Okay, so basically, now we're going to have the instance of, we have a function f of x, which includes, let's say, g of x, it's going to be g of h of x. That's our situation here, and we want to find the derivative of f of x. And it looks very confusing, like how are you going to find the derivative of this, g of h of x? And the answer is pretty easy. So let's take a look at this. Let's write this over here because it's a pretty important concept. If we're given f of x is equal to g of h of x. In order to find the derivative of this, what you're going to need to do, okay, let's write in our shorthand notation, f inverse of x is equal to g inverse of h of x, so basically in this case h of x stays the same, times h inverse of x. Now even this equation looks pretty simple, but we just got the answer for this problem, g inverse of h of x times h inverse of x. So we could just write that down right there. I'll keep that up for reference here, and we're going to go over a quick little problem. Let's say we are given f of x is equal to sine of x to the power of 10. So, according to this chain rule over here, let's just make sure everyone knows, this is the chain rule. According to the chain rule, we are going to have f inverse of x is equal to, and we need to find the derivative of, let's call this g of x. So, sine is g of x, and if we want to find the derivative of sine, I know not many people have it memorized, but there's many different types of tables which you can find the derivative of sine for, and I know for a fact it's cos, so it's going to be cos of, and remember, h of x stays the same, so it's going to be cos of x to the power of 10. And you multiply by the derivative of h of x. And now this is where the power rule comes in, because remember, you use the power rule when it comes to things with exponents. So x to the power of 10, we move 10 as a coefficient, so it's going to be 10x to the power of the previous exponent minus 1. So 10x to the power of 9. And so that's basically what the chain rule is. These are some very simple concepts in calculus, and derivatives are quite frequently used, so it's really good to get these shortcuts down so it makes your life a lot easier. Thank you for watching this video, and please like and subscribe, and thank you.